Did you know that in Florida today there are over 400 municipal governments? Have you ever thought about how our city, town, and village governments formed? And what exactly are their functions and duties? And who's responsible anyway? Hi, I'm Tim Center. Thanks for joining me. Stick around and we're going to explore why cities are formed, how cities in Florida work, and the services that they provide. But before we do that, we need to understand the history of how cities came to be. People have gathered together since people have been around. There is safety in numbers after all. Some of the earliest experiments in self-governing happened in Greece and Rome more than 3,000 years ago. The idea of a social contract is a great way to think about cities. I know that living right next to lots of people means that my neighbors and I ought to agree on some basic rules.
If I may speak, I think this discussion is a waste of time.
So, local government is a social contract between the people and the men and women they choose to govern them. Representative democracy grew out of the Greek models, and Florida experienced these local governments under Spanish rule, English queens and kings, and then the U.S. government system when Florida became part of the United States. A good model for our system came from the end of the English medieval time period when people gathered and lived together in small communities. At that time, the informal leaders of the community, usually the leading businessmen, would petition the king or queen to grant them a charter. This charter empowered local groups to promote local improvements and to regulate certain aspects of community life. The charters granted to communities by the Crown gave specific and detailed powers to the local leaders. And charter is from the French word for contract. So my explanation of the social contract makes sense, doesn't it? Thus, if an item was not specifically included in the charter, the local community had no authority on that issue. And that's an important detail. We'll come back to this one later. This framework of local government extended to America and the English colonies. When the American Revolution transformed the colonies into independent states, the state governments assumed the role of the Crown as the source of municipal government authority. Today, local governments derive their authority and powers from the Florida Constitution and have additional authority and responsibility in state law. Here's a little bit of state trivia for you. Do you know what makes our history of municipal governments in Florida different from the colonies? During the time of the American Revolution, Florida was ruled by Spain and was purchased by the United States in 1821. When Florida was admitted into the Union, there were several thriving communities, but both St. Augustine and Pensacola had enjoyed limited municipal powers under Spanish rule. So Andrew Jackson recognized both St. Augustine and Pensacola as cities within days of becoming the new territory's governor. Some of the other communities, like Apalachicola and Key West, later became cities too. Today, the Florida legislature still works with local voters on the creation of cities, except that the voters within the city being created get to vote. It isn't just a decision of the legislature. The formation of municipal governments, what we call cities, towns, and villages, has changed since the 1800s. So has the authority of local government. So let's talk city power. In 1968, the Florida legislature amended our state constitution to allow municipal governments to exercise any power for municipal purposes except where otherwise prohibited by law. This provision was known as home rule, meaning that those at home in the community could make their own decisions. This is a radical departure from the theory that the state should hold all powers. It essentially turns that around. Each city is given the power by the people to make nearly all of its decisions locally, without first seeking state permission. This was the first substantial change in municipal government authority since the Crown granted charters in Old England. Instead of narrow, constricted authority, home rule is a broad power. Now that we've discussed how municipal governments are formed, let's consider the basic forms of municipal governments. Keep in mind, the main objective of any form of local government is to keep the bureaucracy, that is, the administrative system, accountable to the people. If you think that sounds easy, think again. Some people think that you need to insulate the bureaucracy so that there's no political interference. This way, some elected official or a very powerful local citizen cannot come in and use the administrative system to their individual advantage. Other people think that if you do that, the bureaucracy will be unresponsive and you need to put an elected official at the head of the organization. And still others think that you ought to have some variation of these two. Look, here's the thing. There isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. Each city charter is unique to that city for a reason, because it works best for that city. Basically, there are 4 forms of municipal government. They are the council with a weak mayor form, the council with a strong mayor form, the commission form, and a council manager form. Let's start off with the council weak mayor form of local government. This is the original form of local government used in America. Today, this form is still widely used, particularly in small towns. The council weak mayor form of municipal government gives the elected officials as a whole the majority of power. The position of mayor, chief executive official may be rotated annually among members and is, for the most part, just one of the members of the council, not making any policy decisions independently. The council retains collective control over the administration of finances, city employees, and city services. This is quite different from the council strong mayor form of a municipal government, which contains a distinct division of powers between the mayor and the council. In cities using the strong mayor form, the mayor has substantial control over the city's administrative machinery, has important budgetary and appointing powers, and has influence with the council regarding policy-making concepts and processes. A handful of cities have the commission form of municipal government, which combines both executive and legislative powers in a small governing board of 3 to 7 members. With this form, there is no single chief executive, as members serve collectively as the policy-making council. Each commissioner directs one or more departments. You just don't see much of this one anymore. This style of municipal government was quite popular in the early 1920s. However, recently, its national prevalence has declined drastically. The 4th basic form of municipal government is the council manager form. This form of local government is based on the supposition that a strong and non-political, non-elective executive office, such as a city manager, should be the administrative centerpiece of municipal government. The structure of the council manager form parallels the organization of a business corporation. The voters emulated corporation stockholders. They elect a council and a mayor, which resemble a corporation's board of directors and the chairman of the board. The council and the mayor, in turn, select a city manager that acts as the chief administrative officer. The city manager is a professional administrator who supervises and coordinates the various city departments. Also, the city manager appoints and removes department directors, prepares the budget for the council's consideration, and makes reports and recommendations to the council. The city manager is fully responsible for municipal administration. Under Florida's Constitution and laws, a community is free to adopt any of the basic municipal government forms and any variation thereof. The only requirements for communities seeking to form the municipal governments are that the legislative body be elected and that the charter clearly define the form of government and its legislative and executive responsibilities. Many cities in the United States have combined elements from the different forms to create a hybrid form. Each charter in Florida is unique, reflecting the characteristics of each city, town, or village. Charters evolve as cities evolve, and amendments are adopted by the citizens. Now, the policy-making process of all municipal governments takes place at council or commission meetings. There are 2 types of council meetings: legislative and non-legislative. Legislative council meetings consist of meetings where a formal action may be taken on policy proposals, such as the adoption or rejection of proposed city laws, or official statements. These actions may include the adoption of the city's annual budget and consideration of zoning changes. On the other hand, non-legislative council meetings consist of such gatherings as workshops, public hearings, and organizational meetings, where items are discussed but no action is taken. These days, cities in Florida not only govern and regulate, they also provide basic services to the community. In fact, services and determining service delivery are some of the main reasons cities have been created. Each city determines its services and the way the service is delivered. That deliberation is a critical part of home rule powers and a substantial responsibility of the mayor and council. There are 3 general categories: public safety, public services, and transportation. For starters, let's take a look at public safety. These features include police protection, fire protection, building inspection, code enforcement, and animal control. your city government has a commitment to its citizens to provide a safe, threat-free environment in which to live and work. This means that when you need assistance, or the community needs to apprehend a lawbreaker, a trained, dedicated professional will be there to help you. Not long after a fire starts, everyone can hear the shrill alarms and sirens of the fire department rushing to save lives and property. Although fire departments are always associated with extinguishing fires, many people do not know of their many other responsibilities. Your city's fire department also works heavily in fire prevention. For example, your local fire department teaches the children in the community how to prevent fire hazards and to develop safety habits. In addition, Florida is growing every day in terms of the population and major industries. Consequently, fire departments must deal with hazardous waste. Your fire department is constantly training and updating services to provide for your community safety. Building inspection is a critical city service, more important than most people realize. Building inspection includes plumbing and electrical safety and many other aspects that ensure structures are free from danger at all times. Code enforcement is a city service related to enforcement of municipal ordinances, including occupational licensing, building zoning, and sign codes. You might not have ever given it much thought, but code enforcement is necessary to carry out the desires of the citizens and how they want their local communities to exist. Finally, animal control is a city service that is very important to both health and safety. The control of stray animals is essential in that it returns many house pets to their families, as well as controls the number of stray animals which often carry diseases like rabies. It may also protect the community from wild, often dangerous animals that may have wandered too close to populated areas. Of the three general categories, the second is public services, which often include parks and recreation, planning and land use, water supply and distribution, solid waste collection, wastewater treatment, stormwater management, economic development and redevelopment, intergovernmental relations, and libraries and cemeteries. Your city offers parks and other places to recreate to enhance your quality of life. You see them all over town in the form of baseball fields, tennis courts, golf courses, and even public swimming pools. They can even be as simple as a playground or a nature trail through an unspoiled area. Whatever their form they provide, everyone has a place to relax and have fun. Planning is a very important part of government. Whether it is roads, utilities, parks, or any type of land use, it takes extensive planning to ensure that the city's vision is carried out. Cities use short-range and long-range planning for just about every program, project, and service they deliver. Now, water supply and distribution is a basic safety service, one which just about everyone takes for granted. You probably don't even think about it, but you know when you turn on the tap, the water is there. Behind the scenes, though, your city makes great efforts to ensure that you'll have as much clean and sanitary water as you need. It's your city's water officials that decide for the community where the water comes from, how it is treated, and what is the best way to get the water to you. We all generate a lot of solid waste or garbage. It's a good thing your city is responsible for the collection and disposal. This service includes finding alternative ways of dealing with the mounting problems of costs associated with garbage disposal. With the use of landfills in Florida becoming severely restricted, all cities consider recycling or energy from waste systems to find the best and safest ways to dispose of solid waste. Do you ever wonder where all the stuff goes that you pour down the sink? Or where your bathwater disappears to after you drain the tub? It's not an easy job, but many cities are responsible for treating and disposing of all the city's wastewater. Cities work diligently to purify wastewater and find a safe way to return it to Earth. Some cities also return the treated water to citizens' homes and to businesses as reused water or reclaimed water. Your city also has the responsibility to manage all of the stormwater runoff. Your city's responsibilities here are twofold. First, cities must operate a drainage system to alleviate flooding when it rains too much, too fast. And second, cities must treat and purify the stormwater runoff before it can return to Florida's water cycle. Cities are important partners in helping their local economy. Everyone wants sustainable businesses that bring good jobs to an area. Economic development efforts also involve the county, regional partners, and the state. Similarly, cities are also partners in helping an area to redevelop or make improvements when areas of that city are in need of extensive revision, updating, or improvement. Intergovernmentally, cities work with their school districts, special districts, county, and regional governments every day. Cities work with their state legislative representatives and congressional representatives to ensure that municipal concerns are heard and counted. The last two services in this category are libraries and cemeteries. These two services are made possible through home rule powers. They are provided according to the needs of the local community, taking into consideration the services provided by other governmental sources and private interests. The third category of basic services is transportation. This city service has many different components, including transit, parking, bicycle paths, and the construction and maintenance of all roads, streets, and sidewalks within a city's street system. These are all part of your city's transportation network. From your local bus or rail system to construction of the new neighborhood roads, your city is constantly at work to upgrade the way in which you travel throughout your city. Municipal governments originated from a need of the people. A city's purpose is, and always has been, to provide for and protect the citizens in your community. Self-government is a right, a privilege, and a responsibility. In Florida, it is also the only level of government a citizen gets to choose. For more information, please visit the Florida League of Cities website at www.flcities.com.